The rain hammered Manhattan's canyons like a verdict from the gods, turning the streets into rivers of regret that swallowed umbrellas whole. Evan Sinclair slammed his Bentley to a halt outside his Upper East Side brownstone, the engine's growl dying under the onslaught, his pulse a war drum in his ears, because the nanny's texts had gone dark 2 hours ago, and the security feed showed nothing but shadows dancing in the nursery cam. He vaulted the steps 2 at a time, key fumbling in the lock like a guilty secret, and burst into the foyer where the alarm's red strobe painted the marble floors in bloodlight. There, on the Persian rug amid toppled toys and a shattered vase that wept porcelain shards, knelt a stranger lean, soaked through a threadbare jacket, his dark curls plastered to a face etched with fierce tenderness as he rocked Evan's 6-month-old son, Liam, against his chest, the baby's wails softening to hiccuping. Sighs under the man's murmured hymns in a voice rough as gravel but warm as hearthfire. Evan's hand tightened on the Glock he'd snatched from the glove box. Old habits from boardroom battles bleeding into this private war. His breath ragged, world narrowing to the impossible tableau. This intruder, this ghost in his home, lips brushing Liam's downy head as if the child were his own salvation. "Who the hell are you?" Evan's voice cracked like thunder, low and lethal. The gun steady but his heart a traitor, fracturing at the sight of Liam's tiny fist curled trustingly in the stranger's collar. The man, Dylan, though Evan wouldn't know that yet, didn't flinch, didn't even look up at first, just lifted his gaze slowly, eyes the color of storm-tossed seas, holding Evan's with a steadiness that disarmed more surely than any plea. "I'm the guy who heard him crying through the cracked window," Dylan said, his words a quiet anchor in the gale. Nanny bolted, left the door ajar, kid alone in the dark. Figured he'd rather have arms around him than echoes. The rain outside morphed into a symphony of sobs, mirroring the one building in Evan's throat as he lowered the gun. The weight of it suddenly foreign, absurd against the vulnerability cradled there on his floor. Liam, his miracle and his anchor since the accident that stole Marcus 6 months back, nuzzled deeper into Dylan's neck, and Evan felt the world tilt. Betrayal from the sitter? Yes, but something deeper. A raw ache that this stranger had bridged a gap Evan hadn't even admitted existed. He holstered the weapon with trembling fingers, sinking to his knees across from them, the distance between father and son feeling like an ocean crossed in that single, suspended breath. "Give him to me," Evan whispered. Not a command but a plea, his billionaire armor cracking under the boy's trusting gaze. Those eyes, so like Marcus's, now fixed on Dylan with a peace Evan hadn't coaxed in weeks of board meetings and bottled milk. Dylan hesitated, his arms a fortress built of instinct, then eased Liam forward with the reverence of handing over a sacred text. The baby's warmth flooded Evan's chest like sunlight-piercing clouds, and for a heartbeat, everything stilled. The storm, the sirens wailing distant below, the relentless churn of Evan's empire waiting on hold. But as Liam settled, burrowing into the familiar scent of Daddy's cologne mixed with rain, Dylan's hand lingered a fraction too long on the blanket, brushing Evan's knuckles in a spark that wasn't static but something alive, electric with unspoken questions. "He's a fighter," Dylan said softly, rising with the grace of someone who'd danced with shadows before. "Like his old man, I bet." Evan's laugh was a ghost of sound, bitter and broken. "You have no idea." But he did. Those eyes saw too much, peeled back layers Evan had fortified with mergers and Maybachs. In the aftermath, as Evan bundled Liam into a fresh onesie, and the sitter's termination email flew off into the void, Dylan lingered by the door, dripping onto the antique oak like an uninvited guest at fate's banquet. "You gonna call the cops on me?" he asked, half joking, but his stance was coiled, ready for flight street smart. Evan clocked instantly, the kind of edge that came from Brooklyn tenements, not Park Avenue pedigrees. Evan paused, bottle in hand, Liam suckling contentedly now, and studied the man who'd just rewritten his nightmare into something almost tender. Tall, wiry build under that jacket, faded jeans hugging hips that spoke of late-night gigs or forgotten dreams, a tattoo peeking from his cuff, wings, clipped but defiant. "No," Evan decided, the word tasting like risk. "But you owe me coffee. Downstairs. Now, I need to know why you didn't run." They ended up in the brownstone's sunken living room, city lights fracturing through floor-to-ceiling windows like a mosaic of Evan's fractured life. Fortune 500 by 32. Widower at 35, CEO of Sinclair Dynamics, a tech juggernaut devouring startups for breakfast. Dylan perched on the edge of a leather club chair, nursing a mug of Kona blend as if it were vintage scotch, his eyes tracing the skyline with a hunger that mirrored Evan's own buried one. "Name's Dylan Harper," he offered finally, voice laced with that East River drawl, unpolished but poetic. Bartender by trade, dreamer by curse. Heard the cries from the alley, window was busted from the wind, I think. Scaled the fire escape like it was nothing. Kid was red-faced, screaming his lungs out. Figured. Hell, I've been that alone kid. Couldn't leave him. Evan leaned back, Liam dozing in the bassinet nearby, the weight of the evening settling like dew. Marcus's photo watched from the mantel, laughing in their Hamptons beach house, arms slung around Evan's shoulders, pre-ring, pre-Liam, pre the semi-truck that turned their forever into fragments. You could have taken him. Ransom note, headlines. Billionaire's heir vanishes. Dylan's chuckle was low, rueful, stirring something dormant in Evan's chest. Not my style. Besides, looks like you've got enough ghosts chasing you without me adding to the parade. The words landed like a gut punch, too prescient, and Evan found himself talking, spilling about the merger from hell that morning, the board's vultures circling his grief-weakened throne, how Liam's every coup was a reminder of what the gods had half reclaimed. Hours blurred into the small hours, rain easing to a patter that lulled Liam deeper into dreams, and Dylan stayed. Not as intruder, but confessor. His stories of dive bar symphonies and canvas-splattered lofts weaving a counterpoint to Evan's steel and glass saga. When dawn crept in, gilding the Hudson in gold, Dylan rose, shrugging into his jacket with a sheepish grin. "Owe you that coffee for real sometime, not this pity brew." Evan stood, closer than propriety dictated, the air between them humming with the residue of crisis forged into connection. "It's a date," he said, the words slipping free like a confession, and Dylan's eyes held his searching, sparking, before he vanished into the elevator, leaving Evan with a sleeping son, a pounding heart, and the dawning terror that one rainy night had just upended his meticulously ordered world. But Evan Sinclair didn't build empires by flinching from upheaval. By noon, he'd fired the agency, hired a night-and-day service with NDAs thicker than his prenup, and buried himself in spreadsheets that blurred Marcus's smile into algorithms. Yet Dylan's voice echoed, that gravel him, the way his fingers had steadied Liam's flailing arms, and Evan found his thumb hovering over his phone, searching Dylan Harper Brooklyn, like a man possessed. Nothing concrete, just whispers. A folk singer gig at a Williamsburg hole-in-the-wall last month. A sketch artist stall shuttered by rent hikes. Intriguing, elusive, the antithesis of Evan's curated life. He told himself it was caution, vet the savior, but the pull was primal. A tether snapped taut across the city's divide. 2 days later, the merger imploded spectacularly. A whistleblower leak from his own C-suite, shares tanking like a drunkard stagger, paparazzi swarming the lobby with lenses hungry for the widower's unraveling. Evan fled to the one place paparazzi feared, a no-name diner in Red Hook, Marcus's old haunt, where the coffee was burnt and the booths scarred like old love letters. He nursed a mug, hood up, when the bell tinkled and in walked Dylan, oblivious, ordering a black drip with 2 sugars, his laugh cutting through the din like sunlight on slate. Evan's breath caught, fate or folly? And he stepped forward, casual as a collision. "Twice in a lifetime. You stalking me now?" Dylan's head snapped up, surprise melting into that crooked smile that hit Evan like contraband. "Or you're the one haunting dives. Fancy seeing the king slumming it." They slid into a booth, the world narrowing to vinyl cracks and steam rising between them, conversation flowing like contraband whiskey. Dylan's tales of busking in subways for subway fare, Evan's guarded admissions of boardroom betrayals that felt small against the man's quiet resilience. Liam's name surfaced naturally, a bridge between them, and Dylan pulled a crumpled napkin, sketching a quick caricature of the baby with cherub wings, his pencil strokes fluid, alive. "He'll break hearts?" Dylan said, sliding it over, fingers brushing Evan's again. That spark, insistent now, undeniable. By the time they parted, dusk bruising the waterfront, Evan had Dylan's number burned into his contacts. For emergencies, he'd quipped, and a dinner invite dangling unspoken. Driving back, Liam gurgling from the car seat, Evan felt the stirrings of something dangerous. Not lust, but longing, the kind that rebuilt ruins into cathedrals. Little did he know, across the bridge in his walk-up garret, Dylan stared at his own phone, heart hammering, the napkin sketch taped to his fridge beside a faded photo of Marcus. Smiling, unknowing, that he'd carried like a talisman for years, the ghost of a love unrequited now crashing into the man who'd claimed that heart. Evan's days blurred into a high-wire act. Dawn runs along the reservoir to outpace the grief. Mornings commandeering conference rooms where his voice boomed edicts that masked the tremor in his hands. Afternoons stolen with Liam in the penthouse playroom, building block towers that toppled like his defenses. But nights, those were Dylan's domain now, uninvited but inevitable. A text pinged at midnight. "Kid okay? Storm's back." Evan fired back a photo of Liam swaddled in sailboat pajamas, thumb in mouth, and Dylan's reply. A voice note of a half-sung lullaby, guitar strummed over static, coaxed sleep from Evan's bones like morphine. They met in Stolen Slivers, a rooftop bar in Midtown where Dylan nursed a beer and Evan a scotch, dissecting the city's pulse. A gallery crawl in Chelsea where Dylan's critiques cut deeper than any critics, his hand grazing Evan's elbow in the crush, lingering like a promise. It built slow, seismic. Evan inviting Dylan to the brownstone for Liam's bath time assist. Watching as the man transformed tub toys into epic voyages, suds crowning his curls like a rogue laurel. Laughter echoed off the travertine walls. Marcus's absence a shadow but not a specter. Dylan's presence a balm that soothed without erasing. One evening, post-splashdown, Liam down for the count. They collapsed on the sectional. Takeout cartons scattered like battlefield debris. A bottle of Napa Cab half empty between them. "You ever think about it?" Dylan asked, swirling his glass, eyes on the fire's flicker. "The what-ifs. If life dealt you a different hand." Evan's throat tightened. Marcus's hand, strong and sure, now dust in an urn on the shelf. "Every damn day. But Liam, he's the hand I play now." Dylan's gaze softened, vulnerability cracking his easy facade. "Lost my folks young. Bounced foster to foster. Learned early. Love's a loan, not a gift. Pay it forward or it bankrupts you." The words hung, heavy with history, and Evan reached, instinct not calculation, his palm covering Dylan's, the contact a circuit completing. No fireworks, just a steady hum, like coming home to a hearth long cold. They talked till the embers died, hands entwined, the city's hum a distant lullaby. When Dylan left at dawn's edge, kissing Evan's cheek, chaste, electric, Evan touched the spot like a brand, wondering if this was resurrection or ruin. Word spread in Evan's orbit like ink in water. The elusive CEO, sighted with a scruffy artist type at lowbrow haunts. Whispers in the executive washroom about distractions amid the stock dip. Hisso Victoria Hale, a shark in stilettos who'd clawed her way up beside Marcus. Cornered him post-briefing, her smile a scalpel. "Heard you're entertaining. Careful, Evan. Ghosts make poor plus ones." He brushed it off, but the seed lodged. Dylan, with his vanishing acts and vague past, was he bomb or bomb? Still, Evan dove deeper, commissioning a logo redesign from Dylan's sketchbook contacts, unofficially. Watching the man's eyes light when the check cleared his debts. Gratitude manifested in home-cooked meals. Dylan's chili, spicy as his wit, shared over Liam's high-chair symphonies. The three of them a makeshift constellation orbiting Evan's sun-scorched heart. Then came the gala. Sinclair Dynamics' annual black-tie bash at the Met. A glittering gauntlet Evan dreaded like root canals. He cornered Dylan at his bar shift, nursing a pint amid the after-work rush. "Come with me, as my date." Dylan's laugh barked sharp. "Me? In a tux? I'd look like a penguin in Armani." But his eyes betrayed the want, and Evan pressed, "Please, I need backup against the vultures." A week later, Dylan emerged from Evan's tailor like a revelation. Tapered while hugging his frame, bowtie askew but charming, hair tamed to tousled perfection. In the limo en route, Liam waved from the sitter's arms at the curb, and Dylan's hand found Evan's thigh, squeezing, grounding, galvanizing. The Met's Great Hall shimmered under chandeliers like frozen fireworks, donors and diamonds air-kissing Evan's cheeks while angling for contracts. Dylan navigated it with wry grace, charming a tech heiress with bar tails, deflecting a venture capitalist's probe with a quip that left Evan stifling guffaws. But midway through the auction, Evan pledging a cool mill to a queer youth shelter, Marcus's cause, they slipped to the Temple of Dender, the Nile's echo a private cocoon amid the crowd. "You're a natural," Evan murmured, backing Dylan against the sandstone. The air thick with jasmine and jasmine-scented tension. Dylan's breath hitched, fingers tracing Evan's lapel. "Or you're just blind to how they stare. Like I'm the help." The hurt flickered, raw, and Evan cupped his jaw, thumb brushing stubble. "They're jealous of this." Their lips met, soft, searching. A question answered in kind. Tasting of champagne and courage, the world fading to the beat of their shared pulse. They pulled apart breathless, foreheads abutting, Dylan's whisper a vow. "Worth the penguin suit." Back in the fray, hands brushing under tables. Evan's empire felt surmountable. Love a lever prying open locked chambers. But as bids soared and flashes popped, a figure watched from the shadows. Victoria, glass in hand, her eyes narrowing on Dylan's profile. Familiar, too familiar. A ghost from Marcus's sketchy pre-Evan days stirring in her memory banks. She made a call from the powder room, voice silk over steel. "Dig up everything on Harper. Yesterday." Meanwhile, in the afterglow of the kiss, Evan drove them home, Dylan's head on his shoulder, the bridge lights streaking like shooting stars. Liam greeted them with gummy grins, and as Dylan scooped him up, cooing nonsense, Evan watched, heart full to bursting, the future unfolding like a long-withheld dawn. He didn't see the tail car, sleek and anonymous, peeling off into the night, or the email pinging Victoria's inbox. A grainy photo of young Dylan, arm in arm with a pre-fame Marcus at a campus protest. The caption, "Old flames burn hot. Careful he doesn't torch your house." The leak hit like a sucker punch the next morning. Sinclair shares plummeting on rumors of insider trading tied to Evan's personal distractions. Boardroom erupted, Victoria leading the charge, her dossiers on Dylan splayed like indictments. Petty thefts from juvie days, a restraining order from an ex-foster brother, and buried deepest, that photo with Marcus, time-stamped a decade back. "He's a grifter, Evan. Using you like he tried with your husband." Evan's world reeled, the kiss's warmth curdling to ice as he scrolled Dylan's sparse socials. No Marcus mentions, but the omissions screamed. He texted, "We need to talk. Now." Dylan's reply, "On my way. Whatever it is, we'll fix it." But doubt gnawed, betrayal's teeth sinking in, and Evan clutched Liam closer, whispering apologies to the air, wondering if love was just another merger waiting to bankrupt him. Evan paced the penthouse like a caged panther, the city sprawl below a mocking tapestry of conquests undone. Skyscrapers he'd topped, deals he'd devoured, all teetering on this precipice of personal peril. Liam babbled in his playpen, oblivious, stacking blocks into tottering ziggurats that mirrored Evan's fragile peace. The elevator dinged, disgorging Dylan. Jacket slung over shoulder, expression a mask of braced optimism that cracked when he clocked Evan's thunderous face and the tablet open to Victoria's smear campaign. Headlines blaring Sinclair's secret saboteur, CEO's mystery man linked to past scandals. Dylan's steps faltered, color draining. "Evan, it's not." But Evan thrust the device forward, voice a whip crack. "Explain this. All of it. Starting with Marcus." The name landed like a grenade, shrapnel of silence shredding the air. Dylan sank onto the ottoman, elbows on knees, head bowed as if in supplication. College. 09. Protest rally, queer rights, anti-corporate greed. Marcus was the golden boy, poli-sci major with a trust fund firebrand streak. I was the nobody art kid on scholarship, sketching signs and shouting slogans. We Connected. Late nights in the quad, sharing smokes and manifestos. A kiss once under the campanile bells. But he pulled back. Family pressures, closet too tight. I was his what if, the road not taken. He ghosted after graduation, off to your world. I followed scraps online, his rise, your wedding announcement. Hurt like hell, but I let it go. Evan's fists clenched, knuckles whitening. Jealousy of venom he'd thought extinct, now flooding veins. And now, you waltz in, cradle my son. Kiss me like it's fate, all while nursing that grudge. Dylan's head snapped up, eyes blazing. Grudge? Christ, Evan, I didn't know it was you till that first coffee, your name in the post, widower tycoon. The accident. I mourned from afar, like half the city. When I climbed that fire escape, it was for the baby, not some revenge plot. You think I'd use a kid for that? His voice broke, raw as exposed wire, and he stood, closing the gap, hands hovering as if afraid to touch. That kiss at the gala? Real. Scarier than any scam. The room spun, Evan's mind a courtroom of clashing testimonies. Victoria's venomous briefing, her timeline painting Dylan as a serial opportunist. Foster runaway turned barfly, gigs drying up post-pandemic, debts piling like autumn leaves. Yet here he stood, unadorned, offering truth like contraband. Evan deflated, sinking beside him, the tablet clattering to the rug. The boards bang. Shares down 15%. They want you gone. Or worse, me audited. Dylan's laugh was hollow, echoing Marcus's wry one. Classic. Love the sinner, stone the sin. But I'm no saint. Evan. That restraining order? Guy was abusive, foster bro turned stalker. Petty theft? Starving artists stealing paint. Not hearts. A beat. Then softer. I never stole Marcus's. Just borrowed a dream. They sat in the wreckage. Liam's giggles a lifeline pulling them from the abyss. Evan exhaled, decision crystallizing like dew to frost. Fight with me, publicly. Show them you're not the villain. Dylan's brow arched, surprise flickering to resolve. You sure? This town's got teeth. But his hand found Evan's, interlacing fingers. A pact sealed in sweat and sincerity. They crafted the counterstrike. Oppressor at noon, Evan flanking Dylan. Announcing a foundation grant for queer artists in Marcus's name. Dylan as creative director. Flashes popped like gunfire. Questions barbed. Mr. Sinclair, is this damage control or dalliance? But Evan's arm around Dylan's waist was ironclad. His voice steel. This is partnership. In life, in legacy. The gambit worked, marginally. Stock stabilized. Headlines shifting to Sinclair's bold bet on love and art. But undercurrents churned. Victoria seethed in shadows, her alliance with a rival firm, Apex Ventures, deepening. Emails unearthed later would show her feeding Dylan's dirt to Apex's CEO, Harlan Crow, Marcus's old mentor and Evan's silent nemesis. For now, though, respite bloomed. Lazy Sundays in Central Park, Dylan pushing Liam's stroller while Evan fielded calls from the bench. Their kisses stolen behind maple veils, sweet as contraband fruit. Dylan moved in incrementally. A guitar in the corner, canvases unfurling across the guest room. His presence a melody harmonizing Evan's cacophony. Yet fractures spiderwebbed. One night, post-Liam bedtime, Dylan unearthed Marcus's journal from a drawer. Leather-bound relic Evan hadn't cracked since the funeral. Mind if I? A nod, and Dylan read aloud, voice catching on passages of doubt. Evan's light, but I crave the wilder dark sometimes. Forgive me. The words hung, accusatory, and Dylan closed it gently. He loved you fierce. Don't let my echo dim that. But Evan saw the flinch, the old wound reopening, and pulled him close. Chest to chest, heartbeats syncing like metronomes. You're not echo. You're now. Their embrace deepened, bodies aligning in a dance of reassurance. Lips meeting with a hunger tempered by tenderness. Hands mapping scars both seen and unseen. Weeks swelled into a rhythm. Dylan curating a pop-up exhibit in Soho, Evan sponsoring Incognito. Their opening night a triumph of finger paints and folk sets. Liam's first crawl stealing the show amid applause. But elation crested into crisis when Apex launched a hostile bid. Buyout offer laced with poison pills. Harlan's baritone on the line. Time to fold, Sinclair. Your distractions are costing us all. Evan railed, Dylan at his side sketching strategy on napkins, guerrilla PR, artist alliances to flood socials with Sinclair stands. It bonded them tighter. Love a forge hammering vulnerabilities into strength. Then the betrayal detonated. A leaked recording, Dylan's voice, young, anguished, from that campus era, pleading with Marcus. Don't marry him. We're the fire, you're settling for smoke. Dropped anonymously to the Times, it exploded widower's lover echoes dead husband's fling. Board fracturing, Victoria's fingerprints invisible but indelible. Evan confronted Dylan in the studio. Canvas slashed midstroke, fury ablaze. Was it settling? Am I the smoke? Dylan's face crumpled, paint-smeared hands reaching. No, God, no. That was kid stuff, desperate. You're the blaze now. But doubt festered. A canker in the rose, and Evan stormed out, leaving Dylan amid ruins, whispering to the empty air. Don't let me lose you both. In the sterile hush of his corner office, Evan nursed a scotch, city lights mocking his isolation. Liam's photo on the desk a talisman against the tide. Calls flooded Victoria's feigned concern, Harlan's gloat. But one cut through, Dylan's text, a voice clip of Liam's first dead garbled but golden. Evan broke, dialing back, voice hoarse. Come home. The reconciliation was raw. Tears and truth spilled on the wool rug. Bodies entwined in forgiveness's fierce grace, reaffirming vows unspoken. But Harlan's shadow loomed, Apex's bid escalating, and Evan vowed silently. For Liam, for Dylan, he'd burn it all before yielding. The war for Sinclair dynamics escalated into a siege. Harlan Crow's Apex a barbarian horde at the gates. Tender offers morphing to take over threats. Regulatory filings a blizzard burying Evan's legal team. Board meetings devolved into coliseums. Victoria's allegiance revealed in sidelong glances and abstentions. Her betrayal a knife twist. For Marcus's memory, she'd claim later. But Evan saw the ambition. The grudge nursed since he'd passed her over for COO. Dylan became his war counsel, holed up in the penthouse war room, once a guest suite, now littered with proxy statements and Dylan's doodled morale boosters. Caricatures of Harlan as a cartoon vulture, Victoria as a scheming fox. Liam toddled between them, a tiny general in footy pajamas, his gurgles the only ceasefire. Nights blurred into strategy sessions laced with intimacy. Evan's head in Dylan's lap, fingers combing dark waves as Dylan read proxy tallies aloud. Voice a steady baritone against the storm. We've got 62% locked, he'd murmur, lips brushing Evan's temple. Hold the line. Love, in those trenches, was pragmatic poetry. Quick kisses over lukewarm coffee, Dylan's sketches adorning Evan's briefcase. A shared glance across the conference table that said we endure. But the toll mounted. Evan's insomnia a specter, dark circles etching his face like fault lines. Dylan's gigs canceled for family duties. His canvas gathering dust, resentment simmering unspoken. The turning point crashed in like a rogue wave. A midnight raid on Evan's servers, Apex hackers siphoning client data. The breach pinned on an inside job, fingers pointed at Dylan. His juvie record a scarlet letter, Victoria's whispers fanning flames. Who better to plant the worm? The boyfriend with the grudge. Evan defended ferociously, alibis airtight. Dylan at Liam's pediatrician that hour, but the damage scarred. Investors fleeing, FBI knocking. Evan grilled in a fluorescent hell where every answer echoed accusation. Released on technicalities, he returned to find Dylan packing. Duffel half-zipped, eyes hollow. Can't drag you down further. Liam needs stability, not scandals. Evan's heart seized, blocking the door like a dam against flood. You're not a scandal. You're my stability. The plea hung, desperate, and Dylan deflated, bag slumping. Then why does it feel like I'm the leak? Every headline, every stare. I'm the ghost haunting you. Tears tracked Dylan's cheeks, rare as rain in the desert, and Evan pulled him close, the embrace a bulwark. Because they want us broken. Marcus died whole because of us. Don't let them unmake that. They made love then, not as conquest but communion. Slow, sacred, bodies a map of mutual salvation. Whispers weaving promises into the dark. Stay, fight, love. Dawn brought allies. An old college chum, now SEC chair, greenlighting and probe into Apex's tactics. Dylan's art network, flooding X with Stand with Sinclair murals. Viral outrage turning tide. But Harlan struck personal. A dossier delivered to Evan's doorstep. Photos of Dylan in dive bars post-Marcus. Nights blurred by bourbon and bad decisions. Annotated with unfit guardian material. Evan burned it in the fireplace. Ashes swirling like defeated foes. But the poison seeped. Doubts about fatherhood. Dylan's rough edges against Liam's fragility. What if I'm not enough? Dylan confessed one twilight. Rocking the baby on the terrace. Skyline a silent witness. Evan joined them, arms encircling both. You're more than. We're the enough. The climax crested at the shareholder vote. Javits Center a coliseum thrumming with suits and stakes. Evan took the podium. Dylan in the wings with Liam on hip. A talisman against tremors. Sinclair isn't stock. It's legacy. Evan thundered, voice cracking on Marcus's name. Dylan's leaked tape recast as youthful fire. Not felony. We've weathered storms. This bid is just thunder. Votes tallied in agonizing slow motion. 51% hold. Apex rebuffed. Cheers erupting like fireworks. Evan swept off stage, crushing Dylan in a kiss amid confetti. Raw, reclaiming, Liam's squeal the applause. But victory soured swift. Victoria's resignation letter, laced with venom. You chose the stray over strategy. Enjoy the scraps, da. And worse, a clinic call. Liam's fever spiking, a ear infection from daycare germs. They rushed to Mount Sinai, sterile halls echoing their fears. Dylan pacing while Evan held the boy's hand, for dripping like tears. Hours later, stable but shaken, they collapsed in the family lounge. Liam curled between them on a stiff couch. We almost lost him, Dylan whispered, guilt a shroud. Evan shook his head, kissing his knuckles. But we didn't, because we're us. Rebuilding commenced. Evan streamlining the board, poaching Apex talent. Dylan launching a youth art program. Liam's handprints the logo. Love deepened in the detritus. Quiet dates at hole-in-the-wall Ticarius. Dylan's songs now duets with Evan's off-key harmony. Nights where bodies and souls intertwined, forging futures from frayed threads. Yet Harlan lurked, a rematch brewing in whispers, and one evening, rifling old boxes for Liam's baby book, Evan unearthed Marcus's letter. Pen pre-accident, unsealed. If I go first, tell the next one he's lucky. You love like oceans, Evan. Don't dam it up. Tears blurred the ink, and Evan sought Dylan in the studio. Canvas alive with their triad. Father, son, lover, in bold primaries. He knew, Evan said, letter extended. Dylan's read, eyes glistening. Then let's honor it. No dams. But shadows lengthened. An anonymous tip to Evan. Dylan spotted lunching with Harlan's aide, cozy as conspirators. Paranoia reignited. Evan's call to Dylan terse. Truth. Now, the response, on my way, is not what you think. As the elevator ascended, Evan gripped the letter like a shield, heart a battlefield, praying this was skirmish, not Armageddon. The elevator's chime was a guillotine's fall, doors parting to reveal Dylan, disheveled from a sprint across town, eyes wild with the hunted's clarity. Evan met him in the foyer, letter crumpled in fist, voice a low boil. Harlan's aide. Lunch. Explain before I explode. Dylan's breath ragged. He thrust a USB drive forward like Excalibur. Planted. I went to bait him, old contact from bar days owes me. Wore a wire, got him admitting the hack was Apex orchestrated. Victoria's bridge too. Your ex-COO's been feeding them intel for equity stakes. The pieces slotted, betrayal's mosaic complete. Victoria's loyalty, a Trojan horse. Harlan's bit a facade for data heist. Evan's rage crested, then crashed into relief. The USB a talisman as he yanked Dylan into an embrace. Fierce, forgiving, knees buckling them to the floor. They unfurled the wires, transcript over midnight espresso, Dylan's voice steady as he decoded the doublespeak. AIDS slips on server backdoors, Victoria's coded emails time-stamped to board leaks. Enough for the feds, Dylan said, but his hands shook. Risk he'd shouldered solo, fearing Evan's empire would clip his wings. Evan cupped his face, thumbs tracing Jaw's tense line. You could have told me. We're partners, not pawns. Dylan's laugh cracked, brittle. Partners don't drag each other into mud. But yeah, lesson learned. Liam stirred overhead, monitor crackling his soft whimpers, and they rose as one. Dylan scooping the boy, Evan trailing. The nursery a sanctuary where accusations dissolved in milky warmth and rocking chair creaks. Dawn broke with warrants. FBI storming Apex's towers, Harlan in cuffs on live feeds, Victoria's penthouse swarming as assets froze. Sinclair stock rocketed, analysts crowing Sinclair's coup, but Evan's victory lap was private. A family picnic in the Hamptons. Liam's first beach steps etching tiny prints in sand. Dylan sketched the scene, Evan napping beside, the Trinity etched in charcoal and salt air. This, Dylan murmured, capping the pencil, is the merger that matters. Their kiss was sun-warmed, lazy, waves applauding. Love no longer besieged, but besieged the world. Revelry couldn't eclipse undercurrents, though. Press hounded Dylan. The hero barista or hidden handler? His past a tabloid feast, Foster scars flayed for clicks. One interview, a sympathetic podcaster, coaxed truths, grew up invisible. Love made me seen. Listeners flooded Evan's inbox, support, stories mirroring their own, and he proposed publicly, not with rings but resolve. A joint op-ed in the Times, from shadows to shareholders. Why love builds stronger boards. It landed like a manifesto, shares surging, allies emerging from woodwork. But humanity's hook, Liam's milestone, his first word, duh, slurred to encompass both, a bridge over old divides. They celebrated with rooftop barbecue, Dylan's band jamming folk anthems, neighbors toasting the Sinclair Harper era. Evan watched Dylan with Liam, strumming a ukulele duet, heart swelling. Marcus's ghost a gentle specter now, blessing rather than burden. Later, stars pricking the velvet sky, they slow danced on the terrace, Liam asleep inside. Marry me, Evan whispered, not question but quiet command. Dylan's step faltered, eyes searching. Thought you'd never ask. Yes, mess and all. Wedding whispers wove through summer. Intimate, Hudson Valley barn, artists and execs mingling under fairy lights. But fate, capricious, intervened. A routine checkup yielding shadows on Dylan's scan. Lymphoma whispers from the oncologist, stage 2, caught early but cruel. The world grayed, Evan's fortress crumbling anew as Dylan joked through needles. Guess I'm the plot twist. Treatment loomed, chemocycles clashing with vows. But they adapted, love a scaffold. Evan shaving Dylan's head in solidarity, bald pates bumping over board calls. Liam's chubby hands patting boo-boos, innocence a shield. The ceremony unfolded in autumn haze, barn aglow with lanterns, Dylan radiant in linen suit, for port hidden but heartbeat strong. Vows exchanged under oak boughs. Evans in sickness, in merger, drawing laughs. Dylan's, I'll paint our storms into sunrises. Rings slid on, platinum etched with wings, and as they kissed, guests a blur of cheers. Liam toddled forward, clutching Evan's leg, the family sealed in tear-streaked joy. Honeymoon was hushed. Cottage in the Catskills. Dylan napping to folksy playlists. Evan reading aloud from Marcus's journal, weaving past into present. Remission came winter solstice, scans clean as fresh snow. Dylan's first canvas post-treatment a triptych. Storm, cradle, dawn. Their story in oils. But scars lingered. Evan's overprotectiveness. Dylan's midnight doubts. What if it returns? Met with cradles and truths. They channeled it humanely. Founding the Harper Sinclair Center. Queer cancer support fused with art therapy. Liam's crayon scribbles the mascot. Boardrooms bowed to balance. Evan delegating. Dylan consulting on creative KPIs. Life a tapestry richer for its rents. Yet closure beckoned. Victoria's trial. Her plea bargain a footnote. But Evan testified. Not vengeance, but verdict. Betrayal breaks trusts, but forgiveness rebuilds empires. Harlan's empire crumbled. Auction to green startups. Poetic justice. One spring eve, post-gala for the center, Evan found Dylan on the balcony. Liam on hip, skyline a canvas of possibility. We changed everything, Evan said, arms encircling them. Dylan's smile, survivor bright. And it's just beginning. Years folded like well-worn pages. Sinclair Harper a dynasty not of dollars but depth. Evan's firm pioneering ethical AI. Dylan's center a beacon for broken dreamers. Liam the linchpin, his laughter a currency richer than crypto. But the heart's narrative arcs toward quiet reckonings. A decade post-storm, Liam at 10, freckled and fierce, interrogating over pancakes. Was Daddy Dylan always your plus one? Evan paused, syrup-sticky fork mid-air. Dylan chuckling from the sink. More like the plot twist that saved the book. It opened floods, tales of rainy rescues, boardroom battles, Dylan's brush with the void, Liam absorbing with wide-eyed wonder, sketching his own comic. Super CEO and the singing stranger. Evan's empire evolved. Philanthropy the new profit. Stakes divested in fossil fuels, invested in futures fair, queer-led ventures, art for the alienated. Dylan thrived, galleries clamoring for his stormscapes, but home remained canvas. Murals on Liam's walls, evolving with the boys' whims, dinosaurs to drones. Their love, tempered by trials, burned steady. Anniversaries marked with Hampton's hikes. Marcus's beach a pilgrimage where they'd scatter wildflowers, toasting the man who'd bridged them unwittingly. He'd approve, Dylan say, Evan's hand in his. Waves erasing footprints like forgiven faults. Conflict resurfaced subtly. A rival's smear, dredging Dylan's past for clicks, but maturity armored them. Joint statement, from shadows to spotlights, quashing quagmires. Climax revisited in micro. Liam's coming out at 16, tearful in the kitchen. Evan's pride a dam burst. Dylan's guitar serenade the soundtrack. Runs in the family. Evan quipped, hugs unfolding. The cycle renewed. Love as legacy, not liability. Betrayal's echo faded. Humanistic harvest ripening. Victoria, post-prison, penning a memoir. From Fox to Phoenix. Apologizing in ink. A tentative tea at the center thawing old ice. I envied your heart, she admitted. Evan's nod absolution. Hearts heal. Use yours well. Harlan, humbled in hospice, sent a letter. Regrets like receipts. Sinclair. Cash them wisely. Forged into a center wing redemption's arch. The end, not elegy but epilogue, unfolded in golden autumn. Evan, silver-threaded, Dylan lined with laugh lines, Liam off to RASD. His send-off a gallery of memories. On the brownstone roof, that first storm stage, they uncorked Marcus's vintage, toasting the Trinity. What happened next? Dylan mused, head on Evan's shoulder. Everything, Evan replied, kiss lingering like eternity's preview. Liam's call buzzed. Miss you already. Love the weirdos. And they laughed, stars winking approval. In the hush, Evan traced Dylan's ring. Etched wings now patinaed. Billionaire finds stranger. Changes everything. Dylan's eyes, sea deep still. Stranger no more. Family forever. The city hummed below, a symphony they'd conducted, from cradle to crescendo, heartbreak to hearth. A gay American odyssey, dramatic in its depths, romantic in its rises, humanistic in its hold. Love, not as fairy tale, but forge, hammering souls into something unbreakable, enduring. Epilogue whispers. Liam's first exhibit, Echoes of Echoes, a triptych echoing Dylan's. Grandfather's ghosts in grandson's gaze. Evan and Dylan, front row, hands clasped, tears proud. The hook that started it all? A rainy night, a cry in the dark. The close? A lifetime of light, cradled close.